Well, I am grateful to have all of you here today. Our theme this month, we've got a new month, 1st of January, 1st of March. Hello. Our theme this month is service. The topic this morning is called How May I Serve? And every organization, in order to be successful and self-sustaining, needs people to be active in it, to give their energies, to give their energy to it. And that is also true with a church. And so we have, as the board of directors has agreed that this month we want to recognize and honor those people who have served week after week, day after day, month after month, year after year, are wonderful volunteers in this church. And so we are honoring them coming up in March, on the 15th of March, with a brunch. Our Board of Trustees is going to be serving brunch for our volunteers. And so I thought that it would be a good thing to use the service as our theme for the whole month. And it's interesting because it's kind of a challenge for me. You know, a lot of times when I do a talk, it's based on a book, and okay, first 2 chapters, I got that week. Okay, the next 2 chapters the next week. Hey, it's kind of a slam dunk. Well, this one is like an open-ended thing, service. Okay, 5 weeks of it. And so it'll be a nice new path for me to journey down with you all. But it's an immense, when you think about it, it really is an immense topic that is so diverse. In fact, I looked up in the dictionary the word serve, and there were like 15 different references to what that word could mean. And when you look in the Bible, as I said in the thought for the week, the Bible has over 1,000 references to the word serve or serving. And Jesus, in his Sermon on the Mount, said, and the passage begins with, "No man can serve 2 masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon." And so what this reminds us of is that, and then the balance of that is the Sermon on the Mount. When you read further into it, that's how he starts it. And then he says, think of the lilies of the field, think of the birds of the air. They don't neither toil or spin. They don't worry about, how they're going to be fed or what they're going to wear. How much more important are you than these, and God will take care of you, right? I mean, that's paraphrasing it. But that's basically what it says, is that there is this divine energy that is, you are in and of, enfolding you and providing for your every need. So at the end of that, it says, but seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. And so he ties it up with the fact that when we put God first, when we put love first, when we put this divine energy first in our lives, hey, we're taken care of. There's no need to worry, no need to spin and toil and all that business. But we cannot serve 2 masters. That means, to me, what that means is that we banish duality. That we are serving the one master of love of God that is in and through and as all. And so to me, it reminds me of the unity of all, the wholeness of all, the completeness of all. And that we are living in this unified field as part and parcel of it. And that everyone else is too. And that it reminds me of the song, "And Everything is Holy Now." I love that song, but I can't sing it because I would cry. But when we put God first in our lives, open and receptive to that leadership of our innate wisdom, our innate guidance, we are led to how we can serve. I have a friend of mine who is married, been married a long time, and her husband was driving to work one day on the I-15 on his motorcycle, and he was hit by a semi. It changed his life drastically. He was actually very, very fortunate to even have a life, to live through it. But after that accident, he had to go through a tremendous amount of regrouping of his body. Many, many, many things were mangled and this and that. And so in this process, of course, he wasn't able, it took many, many months, years really, and he wasn't able to go back to work, obviously. Wasn't able to return to his usual job. But he still had his mind, he still was eager to use himself somehow. So they are members of a church, a fairly larger church, that has a quilting ministry. And he became interested in quilting. Now, the man didn't know anything about quilting, but it looked interesting to him. So before you know it, he and his wife, once he got able to get out and move and travel, started doing this quilting ministry, starting to learn how to quilt. And he has become an expert at it. Their vacations now all revolve around, where are they having a quilting convention? And what kind of workshops are they giving? And, all this kind of thing. His life has totally changed because what they're quilting, by the way, are prayer quilts. These are quilts that they pray over, and they give them to individuals who have been, their name has been given to the quilting ministry that, we need the prayers for this individual, this person. And it's so funny because what a small world it really is. I went to lunch, this is actually a gal I used to work with, and I went to lunch with the gals this last week, and one of the other gals leads a prayer circle in her church, totally different churches. One lives in Temecula, one lives in Lakeside. But they were talking, and they said, we made a quilt for, and I don't remember the little girl's name, but a little 5-year-old who has a brain tumor. And the other gal that has the prayer team out of her home, that she does a prayer circle out of her home, she goes, we're praying for that's the same girl. So they have this unification of knowing that she got a prayer quilt and she are getting prayed for, one from Temecula and one from Lakeside. And it wasn't the fact that they put their names out in all these different churches. That's what I said. They must have contacted a ton of churches. No. It was a personal contact with each one of these. Do you see the unification? The circle of life. How God uses us. Really, when we are, unknowingly, we are not aware of all of the ways that God, love, is serving. That we are here to be that arm, to be that voice, to be that heart, to serve. Who would have ever known that Bill, who was a construction worker, a heavy-duty operator, the big cats, the big operator, that's what he's a big guy. That's what his job was. And to think that God transformed him into being a quilter amazes me. So as I wrote in the thought for the week, that we all have abilities. We all have talents. Obviously, Bill discovered a brand new talent that he had no idea that he possessed. And I'm sure that most of us, when we have that talent that we love to use, that we love to share with others, we do it. I like to sing. And I've been in how many different choirs, I love to sing, and that's what I do. That's a talent that I have. But how many of us are sitting in this room thinking, well, I've used all my talents. I know what all my talents are, and I'm good with it. Let me tell you again, you are an infinite being. You have undiscovered talents within you that are ready to be birthed, ready to give you joy, ready to give others joy through you. So I want you to go into your heart of hearts this week, and I want you to ask, being very open, ask your higher self, what are my hidden talents? What are the talents that perhaps I'm not aware of yet that I can use and be of service to this human family that we are? I tell you, I read all these different things every morning, and one of them is Guidelines to Inspired Living by Roy Eugene Davis. And I thought this one fits so appropriately because it's a 1 through 31 day, you reread them. And this is day 1, March 1st. Acknowledge the reality of God. When you know you are a spiritual being living in God's wholeness, the mistaken sense of feeling that you are separate from God dissolves. Until you are God conscious, tell God about your needs and aspirations. Ask for help when you need it. Ask for courage and wisdom and for success in your meditation practice. By inviting the presence of God into your awareness, you will rise above ordinary states of consciousness. Your innate spiritual qualities and powers will be unveiled. You will have exceptional powers of perception and extraordinary abilities that can be used to improve your personal circumstances and enable you to more easily awaken to self and God realization. The deeper you go into God, the more peaceful and fulfilled you will be. Acquire an intellectual understanding of God. Use your intuition to discern the truth about God. Realize, in parentheses, experience and know, God as God is. You can do it. Affirmation. I acknowledge the omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent reality of God. And from St. Teresa, settle yourself in solitude and you will experience God in yourself. So we're to go within, acknowledge this beautiful presence that is beating our hearts, breathing our breath, leading and guiding us, especially when we ask and are open and receptive. One of my favorite quotes from the Bible that Jesus told us is, he said, all these things I've told you, but more blessed are you who know these things, but more blessed are you if you do them. I love that, because if we go inside and we ask and we hear the answer, it takes following through. It takes doing something. Honestly, that's why I think that we are here on this physical plane with this bodysuit that we've been given, temporarily, this in parentheses of time that we're in, is to use this vehicle for this love that we are in multitudes of ways. I know as humans we get kind of stuck in habits. And we get used to doing certain things certain ways, and we spend hours on whatever. I'm asking you today to think about, how can I serve at a deeper level, doing something different? Do you know, and we all know this, that life is about circulation. It's about movement. Circulation is life, and stagnation is the beginning of that death process. So we want to circulate. We want to be able to give into and allow ourselves to feel being in that flow of life. We used to, in our church, we don't do it now, but as we were giving of our tithes and offerings, we say, giving and receiving are circular flows. As I give, so do I receive. As we give out, we have to give back. That's just the way it works. It's a circular flow. We know that in the Bible when we had that parable about the talents. Remember how he gave 1 talent to one servant and then 2 to another and 5 to another, or how many there were. And the ones that were given more talents, they used them and they multiplied them, right? But the one servant that was given the 1 talent, he was so afraid, that he was going to lose it, that he hid it. And when the master came back and said, okay, show me what you've done with it, and the others, had all multiplied them, they'd done these things, and he looked at the one that hid the talent, and here, I gave it back to you, I didn't lose it. And boy, did he get in trouble. I don't remember the exact words that it was said, but he said, you sloth, or you unfaithful servant, how dare you? If you've got the 1 talent, use it. Let it multiply. Don't get in trouble. I was reading my Science of Mind last month as I was preparing, thinking, how am I going to talk for 5 weeks on serving? And wouldn't you know it, the ones for the week last month, these were written by the musician, Gott. Michael? What's his name? Yeah, Michael Gott. He's a fabulous musician. In fact, he was one of the keynote speakers at our Anton conference a year or 2 ago. And he is in Houston, Texas, at a Unity Church, a great guy. And I wanted to share with you what one of his readings was for last month. I serve with love and with joy. Give, and it shall be given unto you, good measure, pressed down and shaken together and running over. That's Luke chapter 6:38. Let the one who is sad, depressed, and unhappy find some altruistic purpose into which he may pour his whole being, and he will find a new inflow of life of which he has never dreamed. That was from Ernest Holmes, Science of Mind, page 440. In metaphysics, we speak a lot about the laws that govern our giving and receiving in terms of our financial good. The same principles apply to our time and service. Giving places us directly in the stream of the flow of infinite good. By giving, I'm telling the universe that I believe in circulation and in the idea of plenty, of abundance. When I help someone else, I also remind myself of our oneness. We are wired for connection. At our church, we have recently partnered with the Houston Food Bank to host a mobile food pantry on our campus twice a month. On these Wednesday afternoons, a huge refrigerated truck pulls into our driveway and our volunteers get in place. Soon there is a line of 200 people, mostly poor immigrants from El Salvador, Guatemala, and Nicaragua, waiting to receive good quality fresh produce for their families, boxes of peppers, tomatoes, mangoes, cabbage. There's something so powerful in the simple act of putting good food in the hands of those who need it. I was volunteering on a recent day beside a member of our community. As we were distributing the vegetables, she shared with me the dark time of depression and anxiety she'd been walking through. She told me that spending a few hours in this simple act of service always lifted and calmed her. Oh, please, stop it. She gives, she receives. Where is your gift of time, service, and love needed? Are you ready to be a blessing and be blessed in return? And the affirmation is, the flow of love moves through me to others. I offer my kindness and my service to the people I meet, seeing the divine presence within each one. What that reminds me of is that what we don't use, we lose, and what we do use increases and grows. It also reminds me of what we focus on increases, one way or another. I think that most of you, not maybe all, but most of you know that, so I had polio when I was 5. And it affected my whole body, but then everything recovered except for this left shoulder, which doesn't have any muscle in it. And so over the years, I've just grown to know that this is how lefty works. It doesn't go up, doesn't go out. I have a great hand, but it does. I have to put it wherever it's going. And I've learned to be very creative. I've learned that I can do it a different way. But what I realized as the birthday candles get more and more on the cake, that lefty isn't as strong as lefty used to be. And I think back and go, gosh, I can remember holding a baby with one arm and having lefty, stir the pot on the stove or do something, to be able to get dinner created, because kids, the babies, don't they always whine and cry right at dinner time? There's something about that. I don't know what it is. But I remember that I used to be able to do that. And I thought, well, there's no way I will be able to do that today. But I thought, okay, it is what it is. And I could focus on being unhappy, being sad, being frustrated. And I do get frustrated at times, there's no doubt about that. But I don't stay there. I say, okay, there's a different way that I can do this. We have a bar that we put up to close the garage door. It's an old house. It's like barn doors, the big door, one you close one, the second one you close the other one. But you have to have them in the right order. One has to come in before the other one. And so there's this big heavy metal bar, and it's about this height up there. And so you have to have both doors closed at the even amount so that it flips into this little pocket thing that's up there for it. And I'll tell you, it's challenging sometimes for me to do that. Because if the doors aren't closed just right, because they have a tendency to want to just open up again before you get the bar in there, right? And so I've used my head to balance the bar so that I can, use my hands, and I'll tell lefty, now you've got to get up there. And so I can swing lefty, swing it up there and grab onto that thing and pull it in. I also use my mouth, too.
Very well.
Yeah, I use my mouth very well, thank you. I was thinking about holding things. When you put a dish away and you have a stack of dishes, and there's I have a stack of dishes, and then I have a couple things on the top. Well, if the dinner plate has to go underneath, a couple things. And I don't want to take the time to have my right hand take everything down and then put that up and put that back. So I try to, do it. So I take the dinner plate and I kind of tip it in there, and it starts, but then you do have to raise the other things above it. So that's when I use my mouth. I can use my mouth to take the dinner plate and hold it so I can pick up the other things, and then I can shove it in. And so to me, I go, well, you know what? I'm being very creative. And I don't have to focus on, the whole point of this is that what we focus on increases. And if I'm focusing on what I can't do, if I'm focusing on being unhappy or sad that it's different than it used to be, what good does that do me? It is what it is right now. And it reminds me of that wise being that left our earth plane 3 years ago now, Jerry Coleman. Jerry Coleman says that was then, and this is now. Which reminds me, spring season has started. Yep. So we are, once again, praying for our Padres that they will be successful and doing well. And I watched my first spring game yesterday on TV, and, again, kind of the same story with the Padres. Oh yeah, remember that guy? Oh, we traded him off to the here and there. And so all these new names, you've got to get used to the new names that are there about us. But so life is about change. That's all there is to it. This is the beginning. March is the beginning of spring. Spring is coming, right? And supposedly later this afternoon we're supposed to get some rain. I see the sun shining out there. But later this afternoon, rain is forecast. And what a great thing to think about this life process, folks. to think about how God gives us everything. You know, all of this provided for us. We just need to be aware of it and use it. Let ourselves, trust ourselves enough to step into some new territory, to do something different, to allow ourselves to learn and grow and change. Because we're going to be doing that for eternity, guys. You might as well get used to it here. Let yourself be in the flow, in the divine flow. Ask for new territories, for new things to do, for new things to be, to new things for experiencing. Be willing to be used by Spirit, to be used by love. Trust. Be open. Be available. Be expectant. What new way am I going to be able to do whatever? And give yourself a smile about it. Recognize that there is this power that we are in and of and as that is beyond our recognition, beyond anything that we can comprehend. But it's there for us because it is us. So let's use it. Let's step out and let us be available for it to use us. What is the Ricky Byers? Use me, oh dear God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. Use me, oh dear God. Let's be used and have the fun of doing it. Love you. Namaste.